Again, an overview of their accomplishments. Joaquin winning Toronto and San Antonio this season, as well as being a finalist in Louisville and Atlanta. That is such a prestigious amount of accolades to have in the regional side of things. Izhaq as well, Stockholm regional champion, Birmingham regional champion, finalist in Gdansk, and Seville champion as well. Honestly, these trainers are the best of the very best.
Yeah, one of the most successful players in the regional circuit on the North American side, and one of the most successful players at the European side, coming up against each other here at the North American International Championships.
You couldn't ask for a better final, and I know a lot of our juniors and seniors in particular have been battling out this whole season looking towards Anaheim, but they have to get through the North American International Championships first. Let's take a deeper dive on Joaquin's team here. We've already spoken a little bit about the Terrapagos, but there's a lot of beautiful synergy here between the Fluttermane and the Koraidon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of two different pairings put together. You see Terrapagos with its usual partners, the Incineroar and the Rillaboom, that can provide fake out support, buy time for Calm Minds and set up, while Corona can provide Rage Powder support to also help get those Calm Minds set up. But then you have the option to press the gas as well. You can get Koraidon and Fluttermane going. Fluttermane, with its photosynthesis speed boost from the sun provided by Koraidon, will be the fastest thing in this match, which can really help fight back against those big attackers on the other side.
Particularly if you have that Terra Stellar terrestrialization option as well, you can deal that additional bit of damage with Shadow Ball or Moonblast, depending on what you might need to take down Pokemon on Izhaq's team. And you do have some heavy hitters to contend with over there. We've got the Miraidon and the Calyrex Shadow Rider. Again, my two restricted picks from earlier. I really believe in these special attackers, and that's something Joaquin has to contend with as well.
Yeah, talking about pressing big ass, you have Choice Specs Miraidon, Choice Scarf Chi-Yu, and Focus Sash Calyrex. Those are three huge attackers that have the potential to put out so much damage in any turn, but you have some pivoting kind of backstop pieces as well. The Frigoraph can stop the priority moves fake out on the other side, and the Iron Hands just gives a nice bulky Pokemon you can switch to at any moment.
Well, let's get into it, Pokemon trainers. Give it up for our juniors in their grand finals here at NAIC. Terrapagos and Rillaboom out front and center for Joaquin, and on the opposing side, it's that adorable little Whimsicott paired up with the ferocious Miraidon.
Well, we weren't sure what mode we'd see first, but it's that fake out partner with Rillaboom paired with Terrapagos. The opportunity for Calm Mind is here, and the other thing with Rillaboom out on the field immediately is that it undoes the electric terrain on the other side. Miraidon immediately not hitting quite as hard, but you have to be a little bit careful. Terrapagos can still end up vulnerable with the Whimsicott on the other side. It has Fake Tears, can undo Calm Minds faster than you can set them up.
And it's a nice way to boost up the damage Miraidon or a special attacker can deal with those Fake Tears. But Miraidon getting out of there saying, I want to set up my electric terrain and have my Hadron engine activated later on. Chi-Yu is going to join the field. That's going to activate the Beads of Ruin and help out the special attackers, as the Fake Tears does indeed target down into that opposing Terrapagos, setting up for a special attacker to sweep through later on. Rillaboom, however, also goes on the offensive, but on the physical side with a Wood Hammer down into that Whimsicott, just doing a little bit of damage, and maybe if there had been a switch, that would have been a little bit more significant. But Terra Starstorm is the double up. Whimsicott is out of here.
What a strong play on the first turn here, just recognizing that Whimsicott is a problem, and the fastest way to get rid of Whimsicott is to use that resisted move in Wood Hammer along with Terra Starstorm. You don't need the Calm Minds yet. You can do the damage now. Get the KO on Whimsicott and get rid of that problem on the other side. Now, whether it's the speed that you don't have to worry about the Tailwind on the other side, or no more Fake Tears coming into Terrapagos, a huge swing on turn one in Joaquin's favor.
Love that little nod of confidence Joaquin gave to the crowd then as well. He knows that was a fantastic play, getting rid of what could be a very problematic Pokemon. You still have to contend with the Fake Tears on your Terrapagos, but something like a switch out can reset that easily.
Right, Terrapagos could just flee back out in order to get rid of those drops, or might just be able to fight even in this position, not especially threatened by Calyrex. Immediately doesn't have to worry about Astral Barrage anymore, but you don't have fake out support at this moment. So Rillaboom looking pretty vulnerable here, has the Fire Attacker on the other side, a lot of damage possibly coming back in against it.
And an unusual choice on the Calyrex. This one is rocking Encore as well, so Terrapagos isn't safe to maybe go for something like a Calm Mind if you're then going to be locked into it and not able to deal the damage out on the field. So it's just going for a Protect here, playing a little bit defensively. Joaquin maybe scouting out what the Chi-Yu wants to lock in with. It is going to be that Heat Wave trying to target on both the opposing Pokemon. It's only going to be able to connect onto that opposing Rillaboom, deal a significant amount of damage with that Assault Vest, really helping keep it in the game. Almost going to be a follow-up from that Psychic, but a really nice defensive Protect from Terrapagos here.
Right, Terrapagos protects itself through the turn, and crucial that it wasn't the Astral Barrage. While Rillaboom took a ton of damage on this turn, being able to flee into the back and then come out later means that both it can answer the electric terrain in the future and provide one more fake out. So very crucial for Joaquin that it managed to survive the turn. And you can see, looking at these two Pokemon in the back, why it wasn't easy to switch out of that position. You don't want your Koraidon coming in and taking Astral Barrage or Psychic or Heat Wave from the Chi-Yu. And so instead, it's Rillaboom has to take that hit, then manages to get back. And now Fluttermane looking pretty threatening here, because the Focus Sash dash has been broken by U-turn onto the Calyrex Shadow, and we know that Koraidon is in the back. So you could switch in, boost up the speed on Fluttermane and make it the fastest moving thing on the field, and that's exactly what's happening. Traffic goes out into the back.
Two birds, one stone. You're able to bring Koraidon onto the field to set up the Sun with its Orichalcum Pulse, and at the same time reset that fake Tears drop that the Terrapagos got earlier on. This is going to bring joy and relief to the Fluttermane. That Photosynthesis boost is going to activate, making its speed, as you said, Len, the fastest thing on the field. The Koraidon, however, could potentially be boosting up that Heat Wave, so you have to contend with what the Chi-Yu is going to be capable of dealing with. Calyrex wisely protecting in the face of a potential Shadow Ball coming that way, and exactly what Fluttermane had locked into here. It's all now down to the Chi-Yu. Can it capitalize on the Sun in the sky, trying to get some damage on the ball? We know the Focus Sash is on that Fluttermane, so it's always going to stay in the game, but that's not insignificant damage on the Koraidon.
Definitely not insignificant damage, but it's something that you can withstand. I think there's a really interesting decision to be made now. Fluttermane can likely go on the offense against Calyrex again. It's already protected last turn. If Miraidon were to come in, it could take a lot of damage on this turn. And if meanwhile, that Chi won't get a chance to attack until after Fluttermane, so if you want to stop it and get the KO back, Miraidon will have the open window into Chi on the other side.
And we are going to see the Terrestrialization, saying, you're sending Fire-type moves my way, I'm going to Terrestrialize into a Fire-type here so that I can take advantage of the Sun and deal damage as well. Koraidon going for that move here as Fluttermane decides to take speed control into its own and can go for that Icy Wind. Will connect on both Pokemon, lowering their speed by one stage. That's going to counteract some of the advantage that the Choice Scarf has been given to that Chi-Yu, as well as enabling the Koraidon to go here for the Flame Charge into that Calyrex and get the knockout.
So much speed switching there, the Icy Wind dropping Chi-Yu down and also dropping Calyrex down so that Flame Charge can go first, get the KO, and get this speed boost on Koraidon.
We said this earlier, there's great synergy amongst these Pokemon and they're showcasing it beautifully. Koraidon dodging out of the way, Fluttermane also diving out of the way. A fantastic turn here for Joaquin.
Already looked very difficult for Izhaq to come back here, down 2 Pokemon 4-2, but that Heat Wave miss on both Pokemon really makes things difficult now, because Miraidon will hit the field, set Electric Terrain, but Rillaboom is still in the back to undo that, and nothing has changed about the speeds here. Both Koraidon and Fluttermane will move before either of Miraidon or Chi-Yu, so a lot of damage is coming back. The Miraidon looks very vulnerable, has the Choice Specs, can't protect itself. Chi-Yu has the Choice Scarf, can't protect itself, so it's easy going for damage coming out. But the Terrestrialization, the last measure of defense here from Izhaq.
Yeah, Joaquin has done a beautiful job of setting up the speed control in his favor in this match. Chi-Yu going to take a change of type here and turning into a Ghost, just putting itself into a position to maybe try and take some defensive capabilities, but Koraidon going for the Protect, scouting out what this opposing Miraidon wants to lock into with its Choice Specs. Fluttermane also going for the Protect. I think this is a really wise and safe play from Joaquin, just trying to identify how Izhaq wants to play this next turn. It's going to be the Electro Drift. That makes sense. It hits pretty hard. You've got the Electric Terrain activated now, and the Chi-Yu, obviously, we know it's going for Heat Wave.
Crucially, Joaquin has learned where the Terrestrialization has been spent. It was the last bit of defense available, and it could have been spent on either of Miraidon or Chi-Yu. But now that it's been used, you know that you can go out on the offense with Fire into Chi-Yu, or Ghost into Chi-Yu, and get good damage. And meanwhile, you know that Miraidon will stay weak to Fairy and stay neutral to fighting, so it's easier to find your targets on this turn.
Yep, Fluttermane now kind of has its pick of the litter. It can go for the Moonblast into the opposing Miraidon, or it can even go for that Shadow Ball down into the Chi-Yu. You also have the power of that Koraidon, being able to hit incredibly hard. Something like a Flare Blitz is just going to be able to devastate through the opposing side. But the close combat, also an excellent choice. Miraidon just drops! That Pokemon is out of there. Koraidon versus Miraidon, and Koraidon comes out on top. One hit knockout, Len.
Just a massive KO. One restricted Pokemon into the other. One hit KO, Miraidon down.
Oh my goodness, just seeing that absolutely go down, and I think Chi-Yu's going to follow suit possibly with the Shadow Ball coming through. The Beads of Ruin on the field as well, making Fluttermane shine bright. Game 1 is going to go to Joaquin.
What a strong game, but it really all started with that turn 1 play. Because what was crucial in that game 1 was the speed advantage landing in Joaquin's favor. And the reason the speed advantage was able to persistently land in Joaquin's favor is because Whimsicott went down on turn 1 and could not Tailwind, couldn't catch the speeds of Chi-Yu and Miraidon and Calyrex up over the level that Joaquin had.
I feel like Joaquin was constantly cognizant of what the speed issues were on the field. The Whimsicott down, let's not let Tailwind go up here. And then bring in the Fluttermane with the Koraidon switch in to enable that speed boost was absolutely masterful. Following up with that Icy Wind to enable the success of this Koraidon that also went for that Flame Charge to get a speed boost as well, just meant that constantly the offensive pressure was overwhelming from that side of the field.
Right, the multiple levels of speed control meant that Joaquin was always moving first at that phase of the game, and of course was helped by that double Heat Wave miss, but you got to get a little bit lucky to win a tournament too.
I mean, Izhaq still played incredibly well, you know, positioning at the beginning, going for that fake tears and really stopping the Terrapagos from being able to go for anything. But the other 3 Pokemon on Joaquin's side were able to carry through that match. If you're Izhaq now, how do you adapt?
I think it's really interesting because you could see the Terrapagos almost got used like a distraction. It was out there presented with Rillaboom like it was going to be the game plan, but then it was just used to take down Whimsicott. We have the exact same leads again, and you got to be a little bit weary that that could happen. But now Whimsicott actually led this time instead of just being in the back to switch in.
Exactly, and you have the Whimsicott in play where it could potentially go for something like that Tailwind. It is carrying that Covert Cloak, so it doesn't even have to worry about a potential fake out, slowing it down in play. It's going to be interesting then for Miraidon, because possibly it's going to be the fake out target.
Right, fake out likely going that way, and a Tailwind now might not accomplish that much, because by the time those crucial speed competitions are happening, the Tailwind may have expired. So no, just a fake tears at first. You have to make sure that the Terrapagos doesn't run away with Calm Mind.
Miraidon tries to follow up with the Draco Meteor. It is going to come down into the Terrapagos, breaking that Terra Shell. Obviously, thanks to the Terra Shell, it's going to be not very effective, but it's still not enough to get the knockout. A fist bump in the air for Joaquin there. Needed that Terrapagos to hang on as the Rillaboom is able to retaliate with that Wood Hammer. We saw in Game 1 how the double up was able to remove this Whimsicott from play as the Terra Starstorm follows up, and once again, Whimsicott is out for the count.
Another crucial turn 1 KO into Whimsicott this time. Izhaq reached for the damage, tried to find the fake tears and the Draco Meteor to get the KO onto Terrapagos. Would have worked if there had been electric terrain to get that last bit of amplification onto the Draco Meteor, but instead Terrapagos with its powerful Terra Shell ability able to resist Draco Meteor and even at -2 special defense withstand that attack and fire off the one crucial Terra Starstorm. That means Izhaq's back in the same spot. No Tailwind to help, but this time with Miraidon already locked into Draco Meteor and at -2 special attack, offering less damage potential.
That makes Rillaboom breathe a little easier, I think, as well. As you said, the Hadron engine is switched off. You have lowered your special attack, and there is an Assault Vest on that opposing Rillaboom, so it can sit pretty comfortable in the face of the Miraidon. The Chi-Yu, however, that's something it has to contend with. Something like the Heat Wave can come through. It can get the knockout onto the Terrapagos, but we already know that Rillaboom can contend with one of those, particularly when the Koraidon's not on the field, giving it that cheeky Sun boost. We are going to see the Calyrex switch in here for Izhaq, making an adaptation and keeping the Miraidon in the back, maybe to try and get some terrain control a little bit later on, and Joaquin preserving that Terrapagos in the back as well. Fluttermane joining the field, but is it going to be able to get it unscathed? If a Heat Wave is coming through this way, it could be breaking that Focus Sash. It does go for it, but Rillaboom able to dodge out of the way. Fluttermane, however, not so lucky, is going to have to take that attack and does get the burn. It's not going to affect it on the offensive pressure side of things, but it will start counteracting that grassy terrain in play.
A few crucial differences here. This time, the Fluttermane already has its Focus Sash broken, and the Calyrex Shadow on the other side does not have its Focus Sash broken. The U-turn landing into Chi-Yu instead just puts a little bit of damage there. It means the Calyrex will be able to withstand an attack. That means despite the speed advantage being in Joaquin's favor, with Fluttermane moving first on this turn, Calyrex might feel a little bit safer to actually use Astral Barrage on this turn.
That's very true, because you can see the setup that we've got going on here. Koraidon back on the field, boosting up the Photosynthesis onto that Fluttermane. Can put it into a formidable position, again, going for something like the Icy Wind. But Calyrex definitely can deal a huge amount back with that Astral Barrage.
Icy Wind's still the threat, though. Can drop the Calyrex speed down below the Koraidon, and then Koraidon can follow up with a massive fire attack in the sun here. So the Icy Wind will also mean that the Koraidon moves before the Chi-Yu as well, so getting both attacks off before your opponent.
I think the Koraidon is in a prime position to get some big damage on the board, particularly with this terrestrialization, embracing the fire type with the sun in the sky as well. Something like a Flare Blitz is going to be dealing devastating damage into the opposing Calyrex, and I think the Chi-Yu as well isn't going to appreciate it. Fluttermane able to connect the Icy Wind on both these Pokemon, a little bit of chip, but of course the critical thing is this secondary effect, lowering the speed and enabling Koraidon to be in a position primed to get a knockout and take Joaquin one step closer to the champion title. It is going for the Flame Charge because it wants to capitalize on trying to get its speed up. Its target's Chi-Yu. Its target has been identified and knocked out of the competition.
Even with the resistance, that is so much damage. Able to take the Chi-Yu off the field, but crucially not the Calyrex. That means the Calyrex is still set to move on this turn.
Yes, exactly. Calyrex in a prime position to also retaliate. The Astral Barrage will come through. This is going to be able to deal very cleanly with the Fluttermane. Koraidon able to hang on though, but Joaquin now has the utility to bring in a Pokemon from the back. It could always be something like that Rillaboom again, apply a fake out pressure to the Miraidon that we know has to join the field.
The other crucial change is that now Koraidon has received the speed boost from Flame Charge. That will mean that it moves before either the Miraidon or the Calyrex on the other side. We saw close combat in the last game just take a one-hit KO on Miraidon, so you have to expect that might be coming. Meanwhile, Rillaboom also hitting the field again can put fake out pressure into Miraidon, so you can threaten fake out into Miraidon along with a fire attack into Calyrex, or just a close combat into Miraidon. So easy to find the speed advantage and turn advantage for Joaquin at this point.
And once again, Rillaboom's able to gain terrain control. You know, the faster Pokemon sets it, the slower one able to reset it over the top. So Hadron Engine is going to be deactivated for the remainder of this set. You have to watch out, though, for the Calyrex. If it is able to go for the Astral Barrage, I feel like the Koraidon could be in danger.
Yeah, if it can manage to sneak one in somehow, it will be so much damage, but it's hard to see how Izhaq finds that window to get an Astral Barrage in when you have these threats from the other side. For now, Calyrex just going to protect itself, try to do it on the next turn.
Making sure it's not going to take any Flare Blitz damage in this turn. Rillaboom finding its mark on the Miraidon, but if the Koraidon has got its eyes set on it with the close combat, that could be devastating, but instead was targeting down into that Calyrex. So a nice moment here for Izhaq, keeping both the restricteds in play going into this next turn.
Izhaq survives the one turn, but still has the threat of the Koraidon on the other side. No fake out this time probably means that one of these two Pokemon gets to attack. You can try to get Miraidon damage down into Koraidon, maybe with something like a double protect from the Calyrex Shadow. If that's where the targeting goes, there's a path back into this.
I think as well the Koraidon in a prime position to just go for that close combat into the Miraidon and remove it from play. You then just have to see if the Rillaboom can deal enough to this opposing Calyrex. It tries to go for the double protect. It fails. Joaquin very happy to see this as the Flare Blitz comes out from this Koraidon. It's able to dive across the field in a blaze of glory into that Calyrex and take it down. The grassy terrain was not enough to be able to regain up that Focus Sash, and now Miraidon sitting alone for Izhaq against such formidable forces on Joaquin's side of the field.
Sitting alone and without its terrain, sitting on the grass, the Electro Drift will still be plenty to KO the Koraidon, but it's going to be so difficult to get through that Rillaboom.
At least you do get a little bit of revenge for your fallen teammates here, as Koraidon will go down, the Restricted goes down, and that Terrestrialization Pokemon is no more utilized for Joaquin. We know that the Terrapagos can come back in. It's not going to be able to deal too much damage, but this is a beautiful play. You are able to switch out, forcing Rillaboom to come back in thanks to the Koraidon going down, which means you've got Fake Out in play once again, and we know the Miraidon cannot protect.
Right, Miraidon cannot protect itself from Fake Out, so we'll take that little bit of damage, but then we'll crucially flinch, buying the Terrapagos the free turn to either set up with Calm Mind to maybe be able to attack in the future after it gets these turns of leftovers and grassy terrain, or just go out on the offense with Earth Power. Even unboosted, the Miraidon will not be able to take many of them.
Yes, Miraidon looking in a very difficult spot, particularly as its arch nemesis, the Rillaboom. The terrain wars that it's constantly had is now back on the field, once again threatening that Fake Out. You can easily go here for that Fake Out, follow up with something on the Terrapagos, and just deal detrimental damage to this opposing Miraidon.
Here it comes, the Fake Out should be the Earth Power afterwards. It's going to be damage unresponded by the Miraidon.
Yep, Earth Power is able to follow up, does a little bit of chip damage. It's not going to be enough to get the KO in this turn. The sun does go from the sky, but critically that grassy terrain is in play. That does give Rillaboom the advantage to go for something like a Grassy Glide.
Grassy Glide might not be enough damage to pick up the KO, but you can also Wood Hammer and just go for the KO. That way, Miraidon will get a chance to move first, but can you find the damage? Maybe against Terrapagos, but it's going to be close. Terrapagos is such a bulky Pokemon, and definitely not against the Rillaboom. With the resistance and lack of electric terrain, the Rillaboom will be able to withstand multiple Electro Drifts.
It could all come down to this particular turn. Miraidon able to move first, does go for the Electro Drift and find its mark down into the Rillaboom, but the Assault Vest really paying off, keeping it in the game. With a critical hit though, such a valiant effort coming through from Miraidon, but the Wood Hammer comes through, seals the game, and Joaquin Roquet takes the title in the junior division to become your champion at the North American International Championships.
Just such a well-executed game plan. Both games 1 and 2 prioritize getting rid of the Whimsicott in order to be able to establish the speed advantage, and then have Fluttermane and Koraidon capitalize on the speed advantage to rocket him to the top.
Some of the most beautiful speed control synergy I have seen in a long time. Constantly making sure that the Fluttermane, the Koraidon were beautifully pivoted into a position where Icy Wind Flame Charge could just take control of the match.